He's a seasoned SEO expert who loves getting tattoos others would cringe at and has a strong passion for seeing others succeed. I'm delighted to welcome and have a conversation with Deepak Shukla on Small Talk. I'm your host, Javed Khan. Deepak Shukla, welcome to Small Talk.
Hey, Javed, I'm really excited to be here.
Now, we're excited to have Deepak because first and foremost, Deepak is having a conversation with us from across the pond. And if those folks who don't know what across the pond is, that means my friend Deepak is in beautiful UK, United Kingdom. And before we even go into a conversation, Deepak, you got so much that I actually had to make some notes here. Now, folks, if you do not know who this gentleman is, you are living in a cave. Go to LinkedIn primarily and look him up in terms of his profile. Deepak Shukla, and his information is on screen. And if you're listening to the show as part of our podcast series, that information is going to be on the podcast show description. But let me just go through some of this stuff. Deepak, TEDx speaker, 250,000, I'm sure even growing, YouTube viewers. He's run, or are you still running that tutoring company?
No, not today, but that was something that I did.
He ran a tutoring company, trained with the British military. We talked very extensively about that offline, and sounds like may have totally another show about that. Ran a marathon 23, not once, 23 times. There's something called the ultra marathon. No, he didn't do it once. He didn't do it twice. He said, let me just do it 3 times. He did it 3 times. He thought, hey, you know what? I want to experience living homelessly. Did that for a week. He's got tattoos, 50 plus of them. I'm sure even growing. Yeah. He's even, look at that. Look at all that. He's a musician, 150 songs and growing. He, in 2018, this year, 2018, got the, is it AI award? Deepak, is that what?
Yeah, there's a couple of SEO awards that we've won. I didn't apply. I've got no idea. We just, people reached out to us. So it's not, yeah. So Acquisition International, then Agency Spotter ranked us as apparently number 19 out of 2,000 something agencies.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So he got an award. His firm is called Pearl Lemon. Check them out, Pearl Lemon, and so much that I had to put on notes. But we're talking today. We were talking offline about a bunch of things. But Deepak, you wanted to talk, and I love this conversation about energetic communication.
Yeah.
And I'm really, really intrigued with hearing what that means and how that relates to our audience. So would love to hear that from my friend Deepak.
Okay, Javed, thank you for the overwhelming. I'm so glad I can't go red like you, my brown friend. Introduction. So yeah, okay, energetic communication. I think that what I mean by that is self-evident, right? In that, you know, communicate with energy. But how that applies to the way that you do business is the bit that I think it's unique, that's interesting. So number one, first of all, of course, I'm in the SEO space. SEO people by and large aren't perhaps, very extroverted communicators. So that's just a general market opportunity in terms of that. But where it becomes interesting is as you climb up, let's say, the food chain of clients that you service, the more money they make, generally speaking, there's a definite line to the more corporate that they become. If you're moving from the entrepreneurial space to, let's call it like the enterprise space or the SME space. And what you'll find with a service, for example, like SEO, is that it's very much the second thing that a lot of businesses will think about. In the beginning, when you're bootstrapping, it's kind of, let's get some leads, let's do everything that we can by ourselves. And SEO becomes something that's a stable that's kind of the bread and butter of a stable business. So what I've found that's been really important is that there's been deals that I've won, dude, that are really just about the way that my energy is communicated across the screen, about the energy which I bring to the conversation. That relates to tone modulation and me saying, you know what, I'm really invested. I want to make this work for you, Javed. All of the SEO stuff aside, I get that when you win, so do I. Like, I totally get that. And really, communicating energy, it's something that often comes up. I've had clients randomly tell me, like on WhatsApp, a month and a half in, you know what, Deepak, what I like about you is your energy. You just seem like you're going to be someone who gets things done. And that's why I went with you. And that's been kind of a consistent theme, I think, in some of the work that I've won. So that's what I mean by people really communicating kind of their enthusiasm for just like coming across a little bit like a hammer in the things that you do. And I think clients cotton onto that, especially as it's less common in a corporate environment.
Now, from your experience, when should, is that something people can learn, or are you sensing that's in something like innate in someone's
Absolutely.
DNA, or can you actually learn that in terms of the, like, do you think there is a, there's a fine line between, you know, having that energy in terms of your communication to, you know, just like, as they say, sucking up and,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
really being, you know, desperate in terms of getting that business?
Absolutely. So I think that there's a couple of things within that. Definitely it can be learned, because it doesn't need to just be like, for example, via video or in person. So I've got one of the team, Adina. She's quite an introverted person if you meet her. Massive energy. How does she communicate it? She communicates it via emojis and grammar in her communication. So she will use a lot of emojis. She will use like exclamation marks. That's number one. The second layer of it is what I call rapid responding. Like I will very quickly respond to any clients if I'm even out, because it's a 2-second email just to say, amazing, Amir, I'm actually out in the pub at the moment. Haha, talk to you about this in the morning. And more often than not, clients, huge nurturing component that they want to feel looked after. So I think that there's ways that you can work around it for those who probably in their head thinking, well, Deepak, I'm not going to kind of shout and bounce up and across the screen like you. I've got someone else who is a client, and he sends like very timely gifts that are quite funny. Like, you know, like just funny gifts of like Mr. Bean or something that's from popular culture. So I think that there's lots of different workarounds that you can use to communicate your energy if you don't feel that you're going to get into the whole perhaps trying to replicate what I'm doing, what we're doing right now.
And I would think something like that, you really got to know your audience, right? You know, if you're dealing with corporate types of individuals, not sure if you want to send them emojis or gifts, but I'm not, you know, but maybe
I think that
they would appreciate that. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
my thoughts are that if you have, I think that some of that relates to mindset. I think that it's a really valid question. And I found that the more authentic that I was, the better that I did, because transparency is huge. People sense kind of agendas. And also there's a proviso that, of course, the assumption I'm operating upon is that you deliver results. Assuming that you deliver results, then clients, you know, definitely are fine with it. And I found that the more honest I became, the more, you know, I became a magnet, or rather I attracted clients who like my style. And I think that, you know, the millennial audience and above are, and that's people born in the 80s, right? And I'm 32 now. So there's a large proponent of decision makers or people that decide what vendor they're going to take on who are like myself. Which means that, you know, I'm 32 and I'm accustomed to it. And as I've discovered, there's lots of head of growths who are also 30 who completely identify with that way of doing business. So I think that sometimes people just assume that, you know, those people don't exist, but there's a large healthy space of those in the corporate environment that you can use emojis with, you can use exclamation marks with, that do understand rapid responses, that will also ping you on a Saturday. And provided that you, of course, deliver results, which is, of course, the underlying assumption, then energy can definitely mark you out as being different, and more often than not in a positive way, rather than, well, Deepak's a bit weird.
And I wanted to, now you touched on one thing that a lot of people are, you watch, you see videos on this, people are talking about this on podcasts, and you touched on it very subtly, and that's authenticity.
Yeah.
Authenticity. How important is that, Deepak, in your experience, when you are doing the rapid responses and you're doing these various energetic communications? Again, is that something that is innate, or does everyone have that authenticity in their body?
I think that authenticity, I think, is huge. I think that, you know, I walk into every conversation assuming that, you know, everyone's BS radar is turned on. So when you operate on the basis that, you know, I'm here to really, you know, make sure that you win, because then correspondingly I will. I think that what happens is that people get a little bit lost with tactics as opposed to strategy. So strategy would be that your business grows, because then of course you're just going to stick with me. A tactic will be, okay, well, maybe I need to position what I'm talking about in a certain way, and maybe I should do this, should do not, and you get a kind of a little bit lost in it. And I think keeping in mind that, you know, the end goal ultimately is that anyone that, you know, walks into a relationship with you walks out a better business owner, you know, a better man, a better person, whatever it may be. Then I think that, you know, that's the real key. And people, you know, everybody's aware of it now. I think there's less and less room to kind of fool people. And if you do walk in with a sense of agenda that it's just another sale or just another number, then that's where the problem lies. So yeah, I agree. Authenticity is huge. You know, assuming that, you know, you can communicate effectively the fact that, of course, I want to make money, but that's not what you should lead with. Right. You lead with, well, how can I help you win, Javed? How can I help you win, you know, Frank, or whoever it may be?
Right. Folks, we have Deepak Shukla. Pearl Lemon is the agency. If you're listening to us as part of our podcast series, you can see that his information in the description of of this particular podcast. If you're watching this as part of our video series, his contact information has been on our screen through the show. So please do reach out to Deepak, an amazing individual. As I mentioned at the very top of the show, please go to LinkedIn, check him out in terms of his background. If there's certainly either someone you want to introduce Deepak to, because it's all about collaboration and helping each other's networks, please do that. And if there's an opportunity for you to collaborate with Deepak, please reach out to him. Now, one last question, which we didn't talk about, but we always want to hear this from all of our guests. Deepak, if you had an opportunity to have a small talk conversation with anyone, living or past, who would it be for you?
Oh, wow. Okay. So we spoke about him just before, Dave Goggins.
Okay. Dave Goggins. Now, help us to understand who Dave Goggins is.
So for everybody, Dave Goggins is a former US Navy SEAL, considered by many popularly to be one of the best endurance athletes of all time, and has got like a list of accolades that look, you know, that make mine look ridiculous. And he has one concept that I really love. He talks about this concept that you need to build calluses on your brain. And this whole idea that your ability to go through, you know, stressful environments and become hardened to it is something that sets you up for victory in life. And that kind of phrase, calluses on the brain, it hit me. So I'd love to talk to him, Javed, on Small Talk.
That's amazing. Dave Goggins, that's amazing. Deepak, this has been talking about amazing conversation. Trust me, the accolades you've got and credentials are by far just unbelievable, for the fact that you're blessed to be 32 and healthy and enjoying life. It's amazing. And, thank you again, my friend, for being on Small Talk. I'm sure we will have you back on another show, and we'll continue conversations on something else.
Javed, thank you. It's been amazing being on Small Talk. And yeah, I hope that you got something from this, everybody.
Thank you to Deepak Shukla of Pearl Lemon for joining me on Small Talk. You can also listen to the show as part of our podcast series. Now it's your turn. Please comment, subscribe, and share. If you've got a topic you'd like to discuss on the show, please give me a call or send me an email. I'll talk with you next time.